My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Okay, it is currently 11:39 a.m. and what you'll see is the fake sun directly over the top of my head, and you're looking at what is stalking with activity by demons who are engaging in surveillance in the parking lot of Daryl J. Carter and AVANATH Capital Management's Woodside Senior Apartments. And as I open the door and begin taking pictures, this is when the Latino male wearing a black shirt, light tan boots, and blue jeans is engaging in surveillance with the hazard lights on. He immediately gets out of the car. It's RGS license 16137 Frank 2. He gets out of the vehicle, turns off those hazard lights, and then he walks to an apartment and then walks back while license DBUNNID Bunny of the apartment building number 66, I believe, is gang stalking with him by pulling out. They're both sitting in their vehicles engaging in surveillance, stalking with light while the entity is maintaining amplified plane activity over my head. This Latino male is currently in his vehicle moving it while the fake sun moves from over Tracy Banks' front door. He has a short buzz cut, heavyweight male. He appears to be probably about 5'9", and he is overweight. He's gang stalking with in the same way that HD Supply is gang stalking yesterday at what is under the fake sun that's over my head, and it moves as I move. I just want to go ahead and document. This is a male that's a sex offender keeping a woman under surveillance with the government. This is what the government is doing. This is what Ontario is doing. This is P.O.C. Wearing a logo is no guise for the pattern of conduct. You'll see the fake sun while a demon bends down with hazard lights on in the engineered light, stalking in the path, and gets out of the vehicle pacing back and forth because he knows that I'm taking pictures of the environment and the gang stalking that's underway. Okay, what you'll also pay attention to when you're analyzing the gang stalking by the apartment complex, which is the people of the state. So this is nothing other than a setting where the criminal system is underway, and a bunch of sex offenders are routinely engaging with a surveillance of a woman. These are all demons. However, you're going to prosecute the demons that are engaging in what is sexual violence, engaging in what is terrorism, engaging in what is stalking, and doing so while they are also aware of the fact that they're being documented. He's engaging in surveillance with RGS and AVANATH. This demon, LYNDA Reyes, is under the fake sun on the side of the building, engaging in surveillance, not hosing down the property. She's doing so under the fake sun that you'll see over my over the top of my head. And as I walk to the opposite end of the parking lot to get what is a demon and a gang stalker under the fake sun, in nothing other than a vehicle that says RGS, then you're understanding what is public corruption. And they're all together obsessively consumed with what I'm doing. They're keeping me under surveillance and stalking with activity. That's, again, yesterday what you see is HD Supply, AVANATH Capital Management, and their employees gang stalking with the people of the state. And what you're witnessing now in the images and in the environment, which is remaining while that demon in that RGS vehicle drives away, the fake sun remains over me, and it's back over me at Tracy Banks' front door. That Latino male, again, any of those that are immigrants are subject to deportation, and the threat that they pose to American citizens is hereby embodied in the documentation. It's the same with LYNDA Reyes, who's subject to federal prison. She thought it was a good idea to engage in harassing me and terrorizing me for over an hour because I documented her gang stalking via amplified noise, and so as I do so, she engages in what is stalking and harassing and psychologically torturing me with amplified noise that her co-defendant in Unit 55 created, while LYNDA Reyes is fully aware of the fact that I'm documenting her in the same way that she knows what I'm doing inside of this apartment, while a demon, a Latino heavyweight male, is stalking in the path. As you see me take pictures, that demon is walking because that demon is engaging in what is not only maintaining an outward, you're looking at their superficial veneer, such as somebody that's not stalking because you see their back to you and because you don't know that person. That's an entity that's engaging what is monitoring. He was simultaneous to my taking pictures, getting out of the vehicle, which is turning off the lights, that he was sitting in the car engaging in what is monitoring me on communication devices on the internet with the government. This is a government actor that's using what is a potentially an immigrant gang stalking an American citizen, using the malicious guise of a commercial actor to do so, while engaging in the sex offense of stalking a woman in violation of the Violence Against Women Act with the literal employees at the property in that specific environment. And so that's called stalking with activity, not fleeing from the scene in the way that you would with regard to traditional stalking. I'm not stalking you, I don't know you, and I'm also, my back is to you, I'm walking away. That's a demon that's monitoring. It's called stalking with activity, and it's also occurring pursuant to what is federal stalking on communication devices on the internet. And you are aware of all of these angles because of the supernatural environment that remains over me and their engagement on the elements of monitoring that are simultaneously accomplished while debunning the female that lives in unit number 66 is already sitting in her car in a position to maintain activity in concert with that demon that gets out of the vehicle, the Latino male who gets out. And you're getting beyond the superficial veneer that the demons are relying on, but you are looking at that even in prosecuting, because when you're getting out of your car and walking away, you're crossing path and you're creating light activity, and you're doing so with simultaneity to your being documented as a stalker. And so this is why you never engage in gang stalking in the first place, and the entity is doing so with the city of Ontario. As I'm taking these pictures, which I'm going to upload to the Google Drive, the entity is above my head, surrounding me with the sound of amplified train. That's terrorism and psychological torture as well, which again, Paul Leon in Another Day is exhibiting to the world that he is a violent sex offender and a raging maniacal psychopath who is still engaging what is the resources, thousands of dollars on a daily basis to keep me under surveillance through the government and in concert with a population, and who are doing so by driving vehicles with logos on them. Those companies are going to be prosecuted as well as those individuals. And so let me give you that license plate again. LYNDA Reyes is stalking in the path on the side of the building with units 49 through 64. She is keeping me under surveillance, and she's going to federal prison. Her obsession with me and her malice in targeting me is why she is subject to federal prison, because no American citizen is going to aid the government in the unlawful and inhumane system of federal group stalking, monitoring, gang stalking, because you need Jesus and you can't control your impulses to stalk and monitor me obsessively. And moreover, as I documented, thankfully, because LYNDA Reyes belongs in federal prison, as I document her, she engages in harassing and psychologically torturing me more, which is the behavior of a psychopath, by the way. She's doing so, which is on the record, while I'm documenting amplified audible noise, also including criminal summoning under an idle fake sun that remains over this building. The building that she's standing beside holding a water pose. That's nothing other than relevant positioning and audible activity. And these psychopaths are engaging, these demons are engaging in what is surveillance in the most malicious and demented ways. That is, again, ignorant. This is understanding how the demon possessed engage in public corruption, in other words. Because on the surface, you're supposed to see, that's what you will see, but you're supposed to be ignorant with regard to conspicuous stalking, such as not driving a white van and walking around in a ninja suit and carrying a knife, wielding it in your hand and approaching me ominously, but driving a vehicle bearing a logo that's affiliated with, for example, landscaping at the property that you're under no circumstances aware of, that remains entirely supernatural, and everything that's happening, both the sound there, the light there, and the environment in the sky space, as well as the government's behavior in the sky space at that property. But nonetheless, the entity is engaging in what is this behavior, and it's supposed to look like AVANATH Capital Management's just on the property doing their job. RGS is just chilling in a truck, free to do that, waiting until they can walk to somebody's door and talk, pull up some grass, and then drive off in the parking lot, and then return to engage in the same exact surveillance before I walked out and captured the iteration of the pattern of conduct. The demons are severely mentally ill. This obsession with me is somebody, I've never had sex with any of these people. I have never shown them my body. I have never kissed them. I've never talked to them. I've never communicated with them. They have no idea how amazing my personality is. Okay, I'm being facetious, but this is very serious because they're gang stalking. And this is already proven. So I just got more demons gang stalking. And D Bunny, she drives the black Mercedes. She's going to federal prison. She already engaged in criminal summoning, and she cannot get enough. She's still engaging in what is spending time of her day, sitting in her vehicle in the parking lot, waiting for the opportune time to stalk with activity. Because that's what you're doing when you're already in position in the carport, the same carport where the fake sun is over me at 8 o'clock in the morning. It's 11:48 in the morning. The same carport where that fake sun is over me at 5 o'clock in the evening. It's 11:48 in the morning, and she is driving out of that carport, which is creating light activity as she uses her vehicle and as she moves in engineered light, where the fake sun is also proving that the third party in apartment number 66 is a gang stalker, engaging in the most psychotic means of stalking someone, gang stalking someone. Yes, I just said that. It is more normal and acceptable to hide in someone's bushes and stalk them than to gang stalk somebody in the malicious and demented, cooperative ways that the demon possessed do. That's how sick they are. That's how deranged they are. This malice is obsessive with regard to the entity that seeks to maintain this superficial veneer, which is highly unpersuasive. And a traditional stalker, somebody, by the way, that would cease to engage in stalking once they're documented and also prosecuted. Not so with the demon possessed. That's the national security threat, and not so with the gang stalker. That's a psychopath that's in the physical. This is why you have somebody sitting in their car waiting to start it. I'm just going to sit here and wait to start it in the event that she gets up, which they're monitoring every physical movement. This is why you have an hour of what is dragging bowling balls and blowing up bombs like the demon in 55 is supposedly capable of creating at the same time, coincidentally, when I start documenting the ongoing amplified audible activity that was occurring earlier in the day. And once I start talking about it, then it commences and it is prolonged. The demons know every move that I make, and they know everything about what I'm documenting, and that's legally relevant for prosecuting psychopathic stalkers who are acting in furtherance still on May 15, 2025 to try to murder and kidnap someone. And they're not going to accomplish that, and they are all losing their housing benefits for gang stalking with HD Supply, for gang stalking with AVANATH Capital Management, for gang stalking with RGS, for gang stalking with the City of Ontario. And D Bunny, licensed DBUNNI, this is a female gang stalking. I documented her engaging in criminal summoning with the Ontario Fire Department, and she's doing so under the fake sun. I documented her gang stalking with the Ontario International Airport that is flying in relevant position at an exceedingly low elevation where there is no terminal. That's going to explain why they are in the sky space over the senior citizen complex in any position where they would want to feign that it's the sound of planes and not a demonic method of noise in the environment, because the demons don't want you to know that they are all monitoring. So it's actually not the sound of the plane. You just see a plane, but by virtue of seeing that plane, you're going to prosecute Alan D. Wapner's criminal misuse of an entire airport to engage in monitoring someone, doing so in a manner that is also inexplicable, because there's no terminals over Woodside Senior Apartments, near Woodside Senior Apartments, where you're taken off from the airport. You are necessarily hovering from that airport, which is not taking off in any destination with passengers headed toward, for example, San Francisco or Oakland or Nevada. You are engaging in what is hovering from the airport and then hovering in the sky space. And then, as I've documented also, they hover over the apartment buildings with simultaneity to my coming outside, simultaneity to my taking pictures, simultaneity to my calling out any demons names such as Alan D. Wapner or any third-party gang stalking with the airport. And then the entity is engaging in behavior such that the plane is then taking off over Woodside Senior Apartments or over Vine Avenue and G Street. Entirely absurd, idiotic conduct that is readily scrutinized and clearly seen as targeting, not only based on that, but also because it's under the fake sun that's remaining over me. Everybody is recognized as the stalker that they are, and it is more psychopathic to engage in gang stalking than it is for somebody that's a little obsessed, maybe can't get over a breakup and is hiding in your bushes, but eventually gets the point and leaves you alone. That's not the case with the gang stalkers. And Lynda Reyes is indeed going to federal prison. What I documented yesterday in the podcast is going against her for engaging in what is that prolonged effort of harassment, and she is not being targeted as the sole defendant in the same way that she is targeting me. But while she's targeting me, I'm prosecuting her with every criminal tactic that she engages in, and she is the entity. And that entity was standing on the side of this building, the same building where the fake sun sits for 11 hours, is a method of what is relevant positioning, while a whole bunch of elderly people are keeping me under surveillance as well. And it's entirely pathetic and it's absurdly psychotic. All right, this is speaking to what again is demonic spirits. When you think about it, and that's what I'm explaining to you, that level of, is he really, are they really, yes, they really are. And you are also aware of that by your observation of the environment, which I've already explained. And also your presence in that same environment at the same time, even, because that's impossible as well. That's getting to the malice that everybody is exhibiting when they're gang stalking in the environment. And moreover, these psychopaths are monitoring documentation about themselves, and they're still stalking. That level of obsession is understanding demon possession. Okay, demon possession. Lynda Reyes is willing to go to federal prison. It is my pleasure to get one less psychopath sex offender off the street. Okay, this is somebody that is gang stalking while collecting a paycheck, and Daryl J. Carter has a serious issue in court, because I'm going to prosecute this company. Engage in what is another moment of iteration of criminal facilitation with the people of the state using corrupt businesses such as RGS. This is what you saw with HD Supply under the fake sun. That's along the same sidewalk, and as I walk out, you will see the fake sun remaining over me away from Tracy Banks's front door. And when I walk back to Tracy Banks's front door, you will recognizing a demon-possessed third party as D Bunny drives away, and the sun doesn't remain over her vehicle while she drives away. You will see a third party demon-possessed gang stalker bearing the logo RGS, who is a gang stalker driving away, and the fake sun doesn't remain over him while he leaves out of the parking lot and drives away. The fake sun remains over me going back in the direction east to Tracy Banks' front door, where I take a picture where it remains over me as I walk to and fro her front door. That's not the case with Tracy Banks either. She's in the same status as the rest of these demons who are gang stalking, both coming onto the grounds, flying above the grounds, and also remaining on the ground, such as Lynda Reyes, such as every other employee, and those that are residing at the venue. This is the P.O.C. It's May 15, 2025. The entity is engaging in the pattern of conduct on yet another day, speaking to the ongoing obsession with me, and they are obsessed with the one who has exposed them and is prosecuting them in real time. And with regard to prosecuting, I'm prosecuting their reputation, I'm prosecuting their careers, I'm prosecuting anything that they could ever say with regard to being anything other than a despicable, perverted, demented stalker and a malicious and maniacal actor that acted toward an innocent American citizen in order to kill them, and also in order to kill their reputation. That's what the entity sought to do against me, and I'm actually prosecuting each and every one of them. While they target me as an entity, my evidence and my prosecution of the entity, which is already complete as far as evidence is concerned, I'm prosecuting the people themselves in the court of public opinion. You are nothing other than what is a criminal and a gang stalker, and anybody else that is looking, and I'm just stating that this is the case. Upon understanding the evidence, upon understanding the significance of everything that's been captured, it is unreasonable that you would see it and under any other circumstances. Now, a legal standard, criminally speaking, is beyond a reasonable doubt. But anybody that is unbiased, anybody that is not, in other words, plagued with the spirit of Satan, and I'm not saying because you disagree that you're a demon, but what I am saying is that this is spiritual. First of all, they're demons, and that's why they're psychopathic in their obsession with me and gang stalking, which is established by evidence. Not only that, it is unreasonable based on the environment. The environment that is, you cannot argue with regard to the sun sitting over a building for 11 hours, that's just normal. So this is where I'm stating there is a degree to which those that are disagreeing, you're just disagreeing to disagree, and that is rooted in what is something that is spiritual. This is demonic at its core. This is what demons are doing throughout the country. This is what demons are hostile because they thought that they're so powerful by numbers that nobody could ever call them out. Nobody can see them. Satan is a liar, and every single last one of them, collectively and individually, are defeated. They're spiritual weaklings, and they're also pathetic. You use all of the artillery of a municipality and a state to target me, and all I did was document it, and I'm taking all of your careers because you have no business engaging in what is terrorism in the United States of America. Because that's what it is when a government, which is shown through the totality of circumstances, the body of evidence. You are stalking from city to city. You are stalking from county to county. And as I go to Nevada and come back to California, you are stalking from state to state as that specific environment demonstrates it. The unfathomable and unprecedented criminal act of gang stalking, which is only committed by a public entity. And it's practiced throughout this country. You are losing your career. You are losing your reputation. Justice requires that as well, in the same way that the entity using witchcraft and rituals and demonic means of targeting someone sought to literally take my life and also tried to strip me of my reputation as a professional, somebody that is otherwise minding my business. That's what I've always done. So upon minding my business, I'm finding out that I'm everyone else's concern. And so it is now my job and my duty to expose what a bunch of demons, a corrupt government, is doing in California, and they're doing it in a facilitating venue near you, wherever you are in the United States. Okay, it is currently 11:58 a.m. The entity is engaging in the P.O.C, and this is relevant. I'm calling out LYNDA Reyes because LYNDA Reyes is documented, and you're remembering at 8:49 in the morning when she's under the fake sun on, I believe, May 8, 2025. Moments later, the Ontario Police Department began showing their demon possession by not only being under the fake sun, but becoming a dizzy demon flying in circles under the fake sun that's over my head. And no one is mistaken about who they're stalking and who they are engaging in a criminal act and a documented criminal act of domestic terrorism with the intent to obstruct justice, retaliate, threaten, intimidate me because I'm documenting this sex offender who's under the same fake sun at 11 o'clock in the morning, where no natural environment would ever encompass that. And she is gang stalking with companies like REYES. She is gang stalking with the people of the state who are outside of around the apartment complex monitoring me, and also on the ground of the apartment complex and flying over me and over the grounds of the apartment complex. Massive obsessive monitoring is all that is underway. And because she engaged in, again, documented acts of, while I document her, I'm subject to what is a pattern of ongoing increased level of threatening conduct, which is also legally analyzed with regard to the amplified audible activity, the impossible light activity, the government's engagement in directly gang stalking me, as opposed to vicariously like REYES and AVANATH Capital Management are. I'm going to drain the pockets of these companies, by the way. And mom and pop companies like REYES, I believe they're headquartered in Anaheim. They're engaged in gang stalking, and they are not even able to compensate me for the harms that they are fully engaged in inflicting. And with impunity, I documented these demons under the fake sun at 7:26 in the morning. I documented these demons under the fake sun at 11 o'clock in the morning, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and they're still engaging in what is surveillance. They're still gang stalking under that commercial name. That is relevant to the prosecution of that company, and it's relevant to the prosecution of the people of the state. And this is all a prosecution of the government. It is currently 12 p.m. This is P.O.C. It is currently 4 p.m. and you will see images of the engineered light that is remaining glowing on the inside of Tracy Banks's apartment in the living room, right beside me, while I'm on the same couch in the living room where that same framing of the front door with impossible light wall, LYNDA Reyes and REYES, and the demon in Unit 66 with license DBUNNID Bunny were gang stalking, and that 11:30 a.m. Let me recall that specific time that the light source is over my head that you'll see on the Google Drive. That is at 11:41 a.m. That fake sun is over the top of my head, and engineered light is framing the front door in the same manner that it is right now. This is the state of the apartment. You can see it at 11:38 a.m. and it is the same state of the front door at what is 4 p.m. And this is where the demons who are, again, Linda Reyes is still gang stalking. Linda Reyes is still harassing. Linda Reyes is still obsessed with monitoring my vagina. Linda Reyes is still engaged in psychological torture. Linda Reyes is a delusional and maniacal obsessed demon. And that's what's wrong with her diseased mind state, inspiring what is this egregious criminal conduct that she's committing with a corrupt government. She's gang stalking with the elderly people who are gang stalking by residents in this apartment building as well. In fact, everybody in units 49 through 64 are gang stalking with Linda Reyes, and they are equally subject to federal prison and mental asylums. The entity is doing so in the environment where I'm pointing out the obvious indicators of surveillance and what is relevant to gang stalking in an apartment complex where the people of the state are in the shoes of the government that's maintaining an unlawful system of surveillance and ongoing psychological torture while monitoring is obsessively underway. And the entity is sounding amplified booming inside of the apartment, and it's relevant to not only monitoring me, but also it's always relevant to what it is that I'm viewing, everything that I do, everything that I document, everything that I state. It is notable while the demons are monitoring me, the moment the amplified booming is sounding is when I am on the internet where I'm under surveillance, and the entity is monitoring what it is that I'm viewing, and the amplified booming is occurring inside of the apartment as I am observing the pattern of conduct as it's underway, and I'm listening to a speaker and content that's on the internet online, and I'm watching content that's referring to what is the fraudulent means of procuring a conservatorship over a celebrity that was used in order to steal that celebrity's money and control their money, which is within the pattern of conduct. And as I observe this is the moment when the amplified booming is sounding inside of this apartment where the fake sun remains, where engineered light remains. And while I observe, while I document, while I'm online and the entity engages in the pattern of conduct, speaking to knowledge, real-time knowledge of everything that I'm doing, including everything that I observe, everything that I document, the entity is engaging in that P.O.C. So I want to make sure that that is also speaking to, not only is the entity engaged in what is knowledge about what's being documented, the entity is also with knowledge engaging in its pattern of conduct, while I note its criminal conduct such as fraudulent and criminal means of procuring what are ways of controlling the lives of other people. This is the purpose of Tracy Banks and the people of the state that are in my family, the people of the state that are absolute strangers like the demon in unit number 55, who are engaging what are the collateral harms, interested in deriving a benefit from gang stalking, and doing so when you are falsely depicting the character of the target individual. This is why you gang stalk them, so that then you can falsely claim through the illusion that gang stalking creates that you are suffering mental illness, and then they can steal your property, control your money, in which case the entity wants to assume responsibility for my content. All right, that's relevant. And as I observe that, the entity is sounding amplified audible activity. I'm going to capture the fake sun right now. It's 4:04 p.m. This is where the entity is engaged in what is federal stalking. P.O.C. All right, and much like you are observing the engineered light that HD Supply is stalking me in, yesterday in the morning, yesterday was, again, May 14, 2025, while you're witnessing and paying attention to the engineered light, the impossible light activity that RGS is stalking me in, while I put my hand in the light that's reflecting, and I put that in air quotes because none of this is sunlight and these aren't reflections. The sun is not reflecting off of a windshield and then shooting like a laser inside of this apartment, creating the shadows of people that are walking by. This is demonic. That's supernatural. The demonic, satanic conduct and a satanic environment is happening right in front of your face, and the satanic wants to appear to be that which is naturally caused by or resulting from what it is that you're seeing, but that's a whole illusion, and it's also something that's illogical, because you know that the sun is not going to, first of all, sit over one building for 11 hours like I'm documenting, but also that the sun is not going to reflect off of a windshield, and that it's going to bounce off of that windshield and shoot horizontally at a tremendous distance. And that light is then coating bodies that walk into that light, and their shadows appear at a distance away from them behind them. That's what the demons are doing who are stalking. This is that light activity that the demon possessed are walking in living in, working in, being loud in, pacing around in, monitoring in. And that's light activity where you're seeing my hand that is appearing on the air cooler outside the quote unquote light that's reflecting off of the outside of the window, creating the pattern of the window on that air cooler as I put my hand in it. And then you can see my one hand that then has two shadows. That's not sunlight. That's also impossible light activity, meaning it's impossible for those two shadows to be the result of me putting my hand in light, which is also that laser light conduct where you are looking at the sun that's reflecting off of a windshield, and then it's creating laser light that shoots into Tracy Banks's apartment under a sun that's sitting over the building for 11 hours. That's demonic, and it's the setting where HD Supply is gang stalking under that fake sun, and where RGS is gang stalking me in particular. Not everybody. RGS is stalking Erica Lorraine Spencer in particular, the same person that's documented a pattern of that environment and that behavior of maintaining presence all around me and demonstrating an identical behavioral pattern in that supernatural environment. And I documented it because at the outset I stated that these are demons and that these demons are stalking, and they're also engaged in surveillance on communication devices and on the internet. And that's why you have loud sounding booming happening inside of this apartment building at all hours of the day and night, because they are indeed monitoring. Monitoring is designed to psychologically torture and harass, while the demons who are psychopaths engage in what are voyeuristic behaviors. They sit around and watch. And that's what, again, demons like Jason Isaac Fields, demons like the corrupt government that I'm going to prosecute. I will not be working with the demons that are sitting around engaging in voyeurism right now. I'm going to prosecute, I'm going to expose, and I will not have any voluntary relationship, professional or otherwise, with these psychopaths who are obsessed with me. This obsession is because of their condition. These are demons who are obsessed with those whom they want to suck up your spiritual gifts. They want to suck up your knowledge. They want to suck up your abilities. And they are willing to do anything, including kill you for it. All right. And this is what the entity is engaging in. And the entity is doing so with ongoing knowledge that it's being exposed while I am showing you what is impossible light. You'll see the fake sun over this same building. That's what I just documented. And then as I walk inside, you'll see what is shade underneath the patio and what is light that's just coming out of nowhere. All right, from shade, light does not just manifest out of nowhere. Light is usually the product, it has to be the product of that which is being caused by some form of light, such as artificial light, me turning on the light, or the sun being present and light being present from the sun. But when you are in the dark and there is no source of light, light does not just manifest out of no place whatsoever. But this is what is happening when I open the patio blinds, and you're seeing all shade. And the entity is nonetheless under the fake sun. This is understanding the illusion and the malice at the same time of the African American operating the HD Supply vehicle, of the Latino male operating the white SUV at 3:27 in the afternoon, while the fake sun is over this same building that I'm inside of. License 8, Wendy Henry Charlie 403. He is gang stalking under a fake sun that has nothing to do with the light that's coating all over everything. And that's why when I capture what is the fake sun, so you understand the significance of the environment where everyone is stalking and monitoring me, and also obsessed with me. They're all engaged in what is voyeurism, and you're stalking me while you're engaging in voyeurism. So these are stalkers who are obsessed with me, and they are engaged in what is ongoing focus of me, any and everything I do, including what I look at on the internet, by the way. This is where the entity is engaging in what is doing so while I show you what has nothing to do with the fake sun. It's a poor setting, and that's why in the shade, when I open up the patio blinds, you'll see two shadows of my person on both sides of Tracy Banks' living room wall. On the opposite sides of the large picture, shadow on the right side of it, shadow on the left side of it, and they're both my shadow. And it's also where shade is underneath that patio structure. That's an impossible instance of what is light appearing out of nowhere, while, by the way, the engineered light that's framing the same front door remains in the same position. This is understanding the malice behind HD Supply being in the environment, making a delivery. This is the significance of RGS engaging what is sitting in their vehicle with their hazard lights on, turning them off at the moment I open the door and point my camera to take pictures, which he's doing with simultaneity. He doesn't look at me in doing so. This is a demon that's stalking me and knows everything that I'm doing while out of my presence, and while not even looking at me, because that's a demon, first of all. And the evidence that that's a demon is the environment. And also the evidence that that's a demon is that movement, that presence, that activity in that environment pursuant to what I do. And you are able to know conclusively what the demons know, and that I'm not just pointing out, oh, they know this and they know that. And the expect a question, which I expect, well, how do you know? Because that's exactly what I'm asking when I am going to impeach any witness on the stand. How is it that you know what they're thinking? I understand it, and that's why you prosecute with a body of evidence speaking to a pattern of conduct. The knowledge and yes, I did speak beforehand about what they're doing and what they are. Now, evidence is going to prove that. And then you can also acknowledge the fact that I told you beforehand what they are and what they're doing. Their knowledge is demonstrated in their behavioral pattern, and it is identical, and it's also the absence of a coincidence because it's in an environment that is supernatural, meaning that is impossible to be anything other than a specific pattern of conduct that is also demonic. That's that supernatural character where light just comes out of nowhere, because from the shade underneath Tracy's patio, which you'll see in the images, and I open up the patio glass door, just because there is a fake sun over the building and you can see sunlight, as we would refer to it when you entertain the illusions of the demons, that sunlight that's coating the sidewalk outside, there's no light that's underneath the patio. There's no light that's coating the patio glass door, rather concentrated light. What you're recognizing is that there's always light. Engineer light is present in all hues and all matters of concentration, including at nightfall. But nonetheless, you're looking at what is shade when you are prosecuting based on the malice of the demons, who are very much stalking. And I mean heavy, obsessive, psychotic stalking. It's not a movie. It's not fiction. It's not exaggeration. You want to know about creepy stalkers? It's real. And they're the demon possessed who are monitoring. And light is present even in the shade, as I've documented. Light is present even in the dark, as I've documented. And the entity is engaging in what is, and that's the demonic. Now, I illustrate that for you when you're looking at, you see the absence of any sunlight. There's no light here. The light is over that sidewalk over there. The fake sun's over the building, however. So you're understanding what has nothing to do with the sun and sunlight. These are a bunch of demons. Demons that are walking around in bodies. Human beings are demon possessed. That's what this is. These are demonic spirits that are using people who are monitoring. And I'm exposing it. Monitoring is stalking. So Satan, in other words, who is a spirit, is stalking me through thousands of people at the same time. They come in different vehicles. They come and engage in different activities on the property. They drive in all manner of vehicles. It's all Satan using a bunch of people together. This is demonic activity. And it's criminal conduct in the physical that you're going to prosecute the government for. Because the government's engaging in what is provable and with tangible evidence, stalking me and harassing, and also engaging in what is psychologically harmful, while the demons lack the ability to control themselves when they are faced with someone that has the ability to expose them and also prove that they're doing what it is that I've alleged and asserted and proven in hard evidence. They don't stop stalking so as to show that, oh, she's imagining things. No, they confirm what it is that I tell you, and that confirmation is in evidence. You can't argue with me. Argue with the facts. Argue with the evidence. Argue with the P.O.C. Because I don't care about what your arguments are. You're arguing with facts. You can't argue with facts. All right, so this is what an entity is doing, and the entity is doing so under an idle light source. And my shadow is on both sides of Tracy Banks' living room picture, on the inside of her apartment, and it's shade. It's dark on the inside of the living room, where light is manifesting out of nowhere around the same front door. And also, as I open the patio glass door, the blinds, that is, you're looking at what is all shade underneath her patio, and then you're looking at my shadow appearing on the wall. My shadow is appearing at a distance, upright, nearest the ceiling. That's absolutely impossible, and it's absolutely demonic. Okay, this is what the entity is doing. And I also want to be clear, the tactic behind RGS gang stalking is not because they're engaging in any landscaping. He can pick up grass all he wants. The entity is resorting to using those who have already been documented, using those who are associated with the property. That's the tactic there. They can bring somebody here that's going to come and conduct a circus or a zoo. The entity can engage in what is bringing their own family members, like Unit 41 is the gang stalking with the grandma, the great grandma, whoever this old woman is. She's a demon possessed gang stalker, just like everybody else in that household, as I documented her under the 9:17 a.m. fake sun. The entity is engaging in what is using RGS because RGS is a documented actor, and is also that I'm just getting to the public corruption. I'm getting to the entity that's monitoring somebody that's documented documenting them. I'm getting to the entity that relies on the superficial veil in order. Oh, RGS is there. They're not stalking. They're there because they do landscaping for AVANATH. That's their rationale for having a demon-possessed gang stalker in an RGS vehicle. Again, this is the entity that is failing to understand how they're going to be prosecuted. They don't understand the legal theory behind documenting a government that's engaging in what is public corruption, surveillance through the people of the state, with the people of the state, in an unprecedented manner that is designed and inherently calculated to result in what is the loss of life and also psychologically harmful, psychological torture. They're going to be prosecuted for that. Whether you use somebody that is readily identifiable, such as RGS, a heavily documented gang stalker, in other words, or some other new, you can invite the circus, I will document and prosecute, and those demons will be prosecuted as well. The entity fails to understand that while they're still gang stalking, because that's what you're recognizing under all circumstances, whether they're cutting the grass or whether they're trespassing and setting a fire in the middle of the parking lot. Do you understand that it is still the same P.O.C.? It is the same exact P.O.C. It is currently 4:18 p.m. I want to get that the entity is under the fake sun. This is where they are engaging what is stalking me, amplifying audible activity while I am observing the pattern of conduct as it's underway against another unsuspecting celebrity who was subject to a conservatorship by demons, because they're not referring to the spiritual, but those are demons that are also abusing positions in churches in order to funnel money that they're stealing from celebrities, where they fraudulently acquire conservatorships over them and control their money. That's what they want. That's what the demon-possessed are looking for. They're looking to profit from the demise of those whom they're targeting, and they do it through criminal defamation. It is currently 4:18 p.m. This is P.O.C. at Woodside Senior Apartments. I want to document, as I have been documenting in text, so I'm going to go ahead and include this note. This is ongoing documentation as of 9:59 p.m. And remember that the entity, which is also a demonic entity, is engaging in surveillance. So aware of and keeping under surveillance every bit of evidence about this stalking and voyeurism that they are engaging in as an entity. So 9:59 p.m. This is where amplified audible activity, which is concentrated in the living room, where these are tiny apartments that these old people live in. So this third party is in a 600 square foot apartment, concentrating what is amplification of the walls and the ceilings that's cracking at 9:59 in the evening, where apparently she would be explaining it as she's just walking around in a circle, and that's what's causing the ceiling and the walls to crack and interfere with the quiet enjoyment of an adjacent neighbor, which is myself, which is the pattern of conduct of amplified audible activity. And it's in engineered light, which is remaining inside of Tracy Banks' apartment. Blue tinted engineered light is covering all the walls, where amplified audible activity is ongoing. And this is what the demon is doing for what is 10 minutes now. Sorry, as of 9:59 p.m. So that is as of it's 10:13 p.m. and the entity is engaging in ongoing amplification. So while I type it out, this is what the demons are doing, as opposed to just waking me up, because this is what this demon. I've documented this at 6 o'clock in the morning, while I've documented this in the middle of the afternoon as I sleep, and the demons are. You're understanding this is spiritual. So monitoring is what the demon possessed are doing while they're gang stalking a relevant position. And I have proven the case of stalking by the civilian population in concert with the government. They are spiritually attacking. So while I am asleep, the entity engaging in what is amplified audible activity, and doing so through what is amplified noise, while no matter what it is that I'm listening to in headphones, no matter how early it is. I'm doing this while, for example, Tracy Banks is pacing in the apartment, again, not addressing me, acting oblivious to the loud noise that wakes me up, but she is supposedly being quiet while the entity is pacing above me in the living room at 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock to wake me up. In the afternoon, I've documented this while the demons engage in this disruption of sleep through amplified audible activity of a demon, apparently, that would explain it as, and there's no explanation. It's going to be an admission, or it's going to be the demon possessed or who are already surrounded with evidence. Just, I don't know what they're talking about, because this is all that their criminal pattern of conduct entails: denial and an outward, if they act like they're nonchalant, if they act like they're ignorant about you, then that's what the plan is. So the entity doesn't have a plan, but the entity is going to address what is evidence against them. And I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because it's pathetic, and it's also surrounding the entity with evidence that's serving to diagnose their mental illness, because it's the malice of the entity that is gang stalking. This is what the entity was doing with LYNDA Reyes, and LYNDA Reyes is hereby being documented as well. She is going to federal prison, and the criminal activity that she engages in as an entity is not limited to her work schedule, which is why federal policy is designed to disincentivize gang stalking and furtherance of murder and kidnapping amongst those that are criminally facilitating it by working at a facilitating environment where you think that you can go to work and gang stalk and no one would ever know be the wiser to it. And you are able to, again, claim something like, oh, I'm at work, I don't even know the so-called targeted individual. The targeted individual is whatever they would assert when you don't have evidence, making it up. They're paranoid. They're targeting me, anything that the entity, any absurdity. The evidence is guarding against all of that. And at 9:59 p.m., this is a pattern of engaging what is interference with sleep. This is what the demon possessed, who are very hostile, and that hostility is documented in such means of just interfering with sleep. I've documented the entity doing this in multiple ways, including through the amplification of what is the ceiling and the walls cracking, which is loud enough to disrupt me in my sleep, while they're monitoring me as I sleep. Remember that they're not just being noisy, and it just so happens to wake me up. The demons are aware of every time I inhale and exhale, when I'm in a conscious state and in an unconscious state, and is utilizing what is a psychopath that's pacing above. And the sound of amplified ceiling and walls cracking is the means whereby audible activity is being created in what is engineered light that fills Tracy Banks' apartment, and it's also covering all of the land, as I've documented, in possible light outside, over all of the apartment buildings, over all of the ground, just like engineer light covers everything, while a fake sun, which is supposed to be the setting where you're ignorant about the fact that it's all engineer light, none of it's sunlight. That's what's covering now, while the entity, as of 9:59 until 10:15 p.m., maintain an ongoing ceaseless chorus of amplified audible activity, which an old person would state, oh, they were walking in circles, and that's what caused the ceiling to crack for 15 minutes, 16 minutes straight. It is going to be demonstrated as something that is mentally disturbing. And it's also, even when you are disregarding the fact and the spiritual feature regarding federal group stalking and monitoring, but also it is that which is impossible to cause interference with another's quiet enjoyment in an apartment. It's also the pattern of conduct where you have what is the element of noise, and what is the element of engineered light, and what is the element of presence, where gang stalking by the government is underway in an apartment complex with those who are over 55. I also want to be clear, just like I'm documenting license 8WHC 403, just like I'm documenting HD Supply, just like I'm documenting RGS, just like I'm documenting every other gang stalker, in other words, that are stalking in the parking lot in relevant position, that are engaging in surveillance. This is what they're doing at nightfall as well. And Woodside Senior Apartments, AVANATH management, such as the demons that are employed and the demons that are residing, they are engaged in what is surveillance also outside of the apartment. The entity I have observed keeping the gates open so that the people of the state, anybody, because the entity walks, drives through, sits in their vehicles at nightfall, engages in what is presence in the path. Massive surveillance is ongoing right now, and is ongoing out, not just inside of this building, but all around, while a demon provides evidence to that. You're not just gang stalking, stalk with amplified noise and engaging in a documented criminal act of what is retaliation, because the demons are documented and psychopaths are very hostile to it, and hours later they engage in late night amplification. The demons are doing that necessarily because somebody else, other people are in relevant position, because somebody else, other people are engaging in what is light activity creation. And it includes Tracy Banks, who's sharing in the elements. She's in the apartment, but it's outside of the apartment as well. And the pattern of conduct I've documented under the fake sun establishes that. That's the significance of having the fake sun for 11 hours during the day. And that absurd and exaggerated means of stalking with light is what's going on at nightfall as well. When you are very obviously looking at that, when the entity went to the resort of having a sun over the building, now that everyone is aware of that, you are understanding what's going on all night long as well. And demons are stalking in the parking lot by walking in and out of their apartments, walking to and from the dumpster, driving in and out of the property under the guise of being security, under the guise of just chilling in their car and wiping off their windows at 11 o'clock at night, under the guise of walking outside and chit-chatting with people, under the guise of trespassing on the under all circumstances, the entity is gang stalking me. I am the focal point. That's the significance of the specific environment. That's all that Ontario is concerned with. Even down to the moments when they sound sirens in the city of Ontario, it is to target me. Okay, the entity is engaging in a pattern of conduct and is doing so as a cooperative means. And so the demon that's gang stalking in the apartment building is the demon that's gang stalking as an entity with those that are also around the apartment building, outside of the apartment building, and who are also monitoring evidence and will fail under all circumstances as maintaining some narrative as to what they were doing. And I had no idea. We were across town sounding sirens and the targeted individual didn't hear the sirens over there. These demons are stalking and they're also keeping evidence under surveillance. So that's 16 minutes of amplified audible activity concentrated above me in engineered light on the couch in the living room where a demon over 55 is not asleep. She is necessarily maintaining presence in the path. This is what she was doing. The entity was doing during the afternoon while that was in the morning into the afternoon, where I am documenting Lynda Reyes, and then Lynda Reyes as co-defendant takes it upon themselves to engage in what is targeting me by ongoing amplified audible activity. And this is what was documented on May 8th as well, where the entity did so with the Ontario Police Department. As I document Lynda Reyes is going to federal prison. That's the pattern there. The entity is engaging in a pattern of conduct with the intent to engage in what is obstruction of justice. And Lynda Reyes' criminal conduct is noted by the City of Ontario and the City of Ontario's people of the state, who are gang stalking amongst the impoverished, the unemployed, that is, gang stalkers that fill the apartment building, where she's gang stalking with them, and doing so as the third party that's a community manager. And as I speak that at 10:27 p.m., ongoing amplified audible activity, which is concentrated directly above me, where I've shown you on the diagram where the demon in Unit 55 is the means of what is pacing amongst amplified audible activity and what is engineered light. Okay, so engineered light is it's a blue colored light. It's magnified in the same way that I put my hand up and you can see my hand, the shadow of my hand appearing on the ceiling during the day, where engineered light is concentrated in color and it crawls all across Tracy Banks' walls and ceilings while it's remaining cycling inside of her apartment all day long. This is the engineered light that's covering on the kitchen walls, on the north walls, on all of the east walls adjacent to the picture. This is blue tinted light that is, understand what's outside as well. It's the color of what are the light fixtures on the apartment buildings, but no light fixture is causing light activity inside of Tracy Banks' apartment on the kitchen wall, in the same way that no sunlight is causing any sunlight appearing on Tracy Banks' ceiling or framing the front door or causing my shadow to appear upright on the walls inside of the apartment on the east living room wall. Never mind the fact that it's not just appearing on the wall, but it's appearing on both sides of the living room wall surrounding the picture as I document that impossible light activity. So it's blue tinted engineered light that's filling Tracy Banks' apartment while the demon resumes amplified audible activity at what is 10:21 p.m. as I remind you about who's going to federal prison, and it includes Lynda Reyes and every other employee. The demons in units 33 through 64 are obvious. They're all going to prison as a mandate for gang stalking at an apartment complex in relevant position and criminally interfering on a ceaseless basis with quiet enjoyment in doing so. And they're also doing it because of population, the government and the people of the state together, by engaging in things such as stalking in the parking lot. And you're stalking in the parking lot as a resident. The entity is always relying on that which is legally irrelevant pursuant to gang stalking, and that's because it doesn't understand the legal theory that it's surrounded by, while its malice is noted with regard to prosecuting terrorism as the civilian population is engaging in it with the government. And it includes those that remain in that environment. All 144 units, regardless, are being prosecuted for stalking, are being prosecuted for gang stalking, and are losing their housing benefits where they abuse it for things such as what I'm documenting now: late night terrorism and harassment and technical abuse in violation of 34 U.S.C. 12291, federal stalking, Title 18, Section 22618, subsections 1 and 2, and gang stalking in relevant position amongst a bunch of old people who are living at Woodside Senior Apartments and working at Woodside Senior Apartments apartments where such employees are going to prison, along with the demons in units 33 through 64. So the entity is going through this iteration of the P.O.C. as a means of retaliation. These are again, the demons that are obsessed are the demons that engage in what is documented acts of retaliation, because I have a body of evidence documenting them. So in other words, the evidence that I documented today, the evidence that I documented last week, this is what the demons sit around obsessing over. They look at it, they are aware of what's published on the internet, and the entity is engaging in what is not only obsessively gang stalking me, but also engaging in what is acts of retaliation while they are hostile to what's published on the internet about what they do. If they weren't stalking, then I wouldn't have evidence to document them gang stalking, and about them being sex offenders. If you weren't monitoring my vagina, then I would refer to you by titles which fit, such as sex offender. And this is what this demon is doing, and it's revealing what all of the demons at Woodside Senior Apartments are doing, which they're going to be prosecuted for. And it's a sex offense when you're gang stalking in a private space such as an apartment. And it's what AVANATH is being prosecuted for as well. Daryl J. Carter's problems do not only exist under the fake sun, where HD Supply is gang stalking, and where RGS is gang stalking, and where the people of the state, such as the Latino male operating vehicle 8 Wendy Henry Charlie 403, is gang stalking under that fake sun. The Daryl J. Carter's problems and AVANATH Capital Management's problems include the residents that are gang stalking, and they're doing so in the specific environment, the same specific environment that is existing under the fake sun during the day. And that also is a supernatural occurrence, because light doesn't appear in the apartment like I've documented. It's criminal interference with quiet enjoyment, in the same way that the demon in Unit 55 is the guise under which amplified noise is being maintained in order to disrupt my sleep while criminal interference with quiet enjoyment is underway, while they do so as the evidence against her, which is evidence against all of them together, who are, again, not engaging in any retaliation. In fact, because you're being documented and you're going to prison for it. So what sort of victory is that? A psychopath that's obsessed is not actually thinking about that. They're just thinking about the fact that they are engaging in it, and never mind all the legal analysis that's going to result from it. And it's going to be embodied in what is documentation that's going to be submitted in court. And people like LYNDA Reyes and AVANATH Capital Management and the demon in unit number 55, whose license plate is 5WUB715. She's gang stalking under the fake sun at 7:36 in the morning. Like I documented on May 12, 2025. She's gang stalking under the fake sun, like I documented on November 6, 2024 at 12:15 p.m. with the Ontario Police Department in that video, because she's gang stalking with the Ontario Police Department now. But on video, you will see them crossing path. You will see her crossing path. You will see the fake sun sitting on the roof of the apartment building at 12:15 in the afternoon, where 7:36 to 12:15 is this concentrated presence of a fake sun and engineer light, not the natural environment. And she's gang stalking at nightfall as well, with the population that is also engaged in surveillance in the parking lot. This is what you know about stalkers who are targeting at this late hour. And AVANATH Capital Management is aware of it and is relying on it while they are obsessively keeping me under surveillance with the government as a bunch of obsessed demons. Late night surveillance is underway. The demons are sharing an ongoing surveillance, and everything that's happening outside of the apartment building is evidence of that. They're all walking in, driving in, sitting around and standing, talking, and engineer light. With knowledge, demons aware of what it is that I'm doing, including as I sleep and including as I document amplified audible activity, and everything that's happening is serving to monitor that evidence as well. It's currently 10:27 p.m. The entity stalked with amplified noise as a well-documented pattern of interfering with sleep inside of this apartment, which is monitoring. And it's also documentation of criminal interference with quiet enjoyment, where you're violating the federal law that you are regulated by, meaning you're not allowed to violate it while you need help paying your rent. They're all losing government assistance, and they're all losing it permanently. They're not going anywhere else with any other government assistance to pay the rent for any domestic terrorist and documented sex offender, to be prosecuted sex offenders. It is currently 10:29 p.m. 10:28 p.m. This is license 5WUB715. This is P.O.C. Oh, she's also documented under the fake sun at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, as I documented in 2024 as well. Engineer lights moving across the brick wall of the carport while she is operating her vehicle with license 5WUB715. This is the same demon that's very heavily documented. If I just concentrated on her, she is surrounded with a body of evidence, which is resulting in an inevitable prosecution. She's just one person that represents the entity that is also surrounded with evidence and an inevitable prosecution, where gang stalking by an apartment complex is underway. It is 10:29 p.m. This is P.O.C. Her co-defendant, who was monitoring me as well, is Tracy Banks, license 9HUZ740. She is stalking in the path, that's relevant positioning. She's present in the light, that's light activity creation. And she is monitoring with the demon that's exhibiting the mental illness that's shared by all of the entity that engages in gang stalking. All right, so it's not just your neighbor who's looking crazy. You look crazy as well, as your neighbor is engaging in the shared pattern of conduct. And they are engaging in that and demonstrating mental illness on an ongoing basis while the entity engages in the cycle of light activity, audible activity, and relevant positioning. P.O.C.